Welcome to doing some drawing. We're working on facial features currently. Today we're going to work on the nose. We're going to jump into it. We're going to do 3 assignments this week. The nose, the mouth, and the ears. They won't take too terribly long, so they're going to not be quite as many points, but 3 assignments over the 2 days, so we can have a full time working on the face, your final portrait. Okay, so here's what I want. We're going to be doing the nose. The nose is made up mostly of what I call soft lines, not necessarily hard lines. Hard line over here, let's see, let me make this so we can kind of see this. A hard line, a lot of times if you draw it like this, is going to be a solid boundary between something, you know, it's a very thin little line like that. So that's the kind of a hard line. My definition of a soft line, we're going to put this on this side, is maybe something that's a little bit more fuzzy or shaded or something along those lines, that is maybe has light to dark sort of things happening on it. Let's see if I can get the values up here so we can see it. But it doesn't have a hard edge to it. It's a lot softer of a line as we start to see those. And so that's the difference between a hard line and a soft line. And we employ both of those when we're creating facial features. The eye was mostly hard lines as we went around it, not as many of those soft lines as on those. But the nose is going to be made up of some of those soft lines that we have. The hard lines on there, let's start with that. And when we're doing the nose, a lot of times it's easier to follow the same sort of thing. The hard lines on the bottom, there's the hole in your head where the air comes in, right? That's where you breathe, and those are your nostrils. On that, a lot of those are like little old-fashioned telephone poles or telephones on that one. So they have a hard line here, and then they have a hard line, little circular things on the bottom here like this. With those, and there's actually, this is kind of a raised area here where the where you see that the skin is actually raised a little bit on that one. Okay, so we got some the hard line there. The other place where you see a hard line is a lot of times the side of the nostril, and those are rounded-ish on that, and so those are, wow, I'm getting kind of crazy here. I got one side higher than the other already. That's kind of weird. Let's erase that out a little bit too high on that one. Okay. Notice that these lines don't touch on here. That's kind of a common problem with the nose, is people want to have those lines touch. Sometimes you see a little bit of an area under here that's a hard line from those. The rest are kind of soft line. There's lines up over here that are kind of soft and shaded. This is right beside your eyes. It's a pretty dramatic sort of a thing. When you're looking face forward at somebody, you kind of see those little indentations, but they're soft line areas that we see. And so I'm just using my shading stuff. The interesting thing about most photography, and when we see noses and that sort of thing, noses are usually pretty small with that as their appearance. They're actually quite big on your face, but we see them in photography as small just because in our culture, in our society, a small nose is preferred. If somebody has a big nose on their face, people, oh, look at that big nose or something. You know, and so it's kind of a cultural thing. In some other cultures, there may be some things where they're not quite as maybe a big nose is a bigger sort of a thing. Notice I've been putting some shadow stuff in beside the nose here on those. There's also usually a little bit of shadow right in this area. Soft line stuff as it comes in here. Sometimes it's on both sides. Let's go ahead and put a little bit on both sides. We'll assume the light source is coming from directly kind of from the front on that one, so we have a little bit of shadow things. And then the bottom part of the nose itself, this part down here, is also in shadow. And so you have some shaded areas where this is kind of happening over here. Let's bring that out a little bit more, make that a little darker. push this values in here just a little bit darker, and all of a sudden we have this is kind of a rounded part here too, where this kind of comes down underneath. And then I'm going to put a little bit more shadow just on one side of the nose here, like a little bit of light coming here. So I'm going to make one side a little bit lighter and one side a little bit darker. This is soft line, shadow line stuff. This can go quite dark up here actually, but it's still a soft line area that we're dealing with. A little more shadow. And so there's the front view of the nose as we have it coming on here, with a lot of shadow area happening in here, a lot of soft line stuff, and just those couple of hard lines that we're working on, which is kind of cool. A lot of times you'll see, if you're looking in at pictures of models and that sort of thing, in order to make their nose not quite as dramatic, not quite as large on that one, they'll flood the picture with light on that. So there'll be a lot of intense light coming here onto the face. And what happens is it starts to wash out these subtle little details. And so what you might see on that, you might see a little bit of their nostrils like this, and a little bit here. And then depending on where the light source is, if we keep the light source coming from this side, you might see a little bit of a side of the nostril here. So this is really all you see of the nose. And the rest is all washed out, and you don't really see much of anything. You may see something up beside here, but this is what you see rather than this. The reality of it is your nose is quite the structure on your face, that it has things come in and out and push and pull on those sorts. And so as such, it is quite the cool feature that's on your face, and it makes people pretty distinctive on what they're doing here. So this is what we're looking for more than something like this. Just be aware of it as you start to see it. The last part I want to do on this one is the side view of the nose. Move this over here a little bit. This one actually has some hard lines in it, because when we're looking at the profile of somebody's face, you see that there's the dent of the eyes, and you see the part of the nose. A lot of times this is where people make it a little more distinctive on that one. Do they have a bump on their nose here like this, which is kind of traditional, or do they have more of the ski slope nose where it comes down like this on those? And so a lot of times there's a little bit of a bump there. This is a little bit of a rounded dealio like that. Some people may have it a little bit sharper, like in this sort of a thing. I'm going to make this a little bit of rounded sort of a nose there. Then we have the nostrils, right? Got to breathe, so we're going to do that sort of a thing. In there, so that's coming like that. And then this is going to drop down pretty straight from wherever it attaches there. Pretty straight, and maybe pop out just a smidgen for where the lip is. That's getting into the mouth on that, so I'm going to hold off there. We're going to do that in just a little bit. And then back here is where we have the nostril area, right? That part. Now if we apply the values that we have over here, these are all hard line things that are happening with our nose. We can apply our value, our soft line sort of things over here. We know there's going to be some value changes over here, some shading as it were. We know there's probably going to be some shading underneath. Something like coming along through here. Probably going to be some shadows under here too. Let's bring those shadows up just a little bit more here. That's probably pretty good. Get my head in the way. And then there's a little bit of value as well that kind of comes down here, maybe beside the nose. There's this kind of a rounded area in this section, and that's where we get these. There's a little kind of C-shaped thing here, like there's a C-shaped thing over here. C, not like as in, you know, seagulls and boats and that sort of thing, but C as a letter in the alphabet sort of thing. This little rounded sort of a thing happening here, and there's some shadows here. There's probably going to be maybe some shadow area on the nose too, on the bridge in the nose, the top of the nose. And then of course there's probably going to be a little bit of value back behind this nostril. This area is actually cutting back and is quite rounded, and as such you're going to have a little bit of cast shadow in here, a little bit of shadow sort of things happening, right? And so a lot of the nose is the structure. Once you get those hard line areas in there, the rest is made up of those values as you start to create that. This guy's got a really serious Greek Roman nose, got a huge bump on that sort of a thing, so that's kind of a cool deal. But those are the front view of the nose and then the side view of the nose. I just want you to do that, no more. Don't need to do any of that. Like I said, we're going to do the nose, we're going to do the mouth, we're going to do the ears in this particular week, and as such they'll be shorter, but there are 3 of them instead of 2 of them. I think that's it. Thanks for all your work. See you soon.